Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Curtis back with another investment video. Today, I'm going to talk to you a bit about Libra, Facebook's new cryptocurrency. I'm going to give you some of the key points about Libra that you should be aware of, bearing in mind that actually a lot of things still need to be defined and ironed out. So I'm going to give you some of the information, I guess, that's been shared on Libra. And my personal sort of view on what this means for not only for Facebook's share price, or what it can mean from an investor standpoint, which is the primary reason why you guys are here, but also my personal take on what this means for society at large. As I think it's going to be a very, very interesting project that could have quite a significant impact in the future. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please hit that like button right now. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm still on a journey to get to 1,000 subscribers. Excited to release some of the plans for the channel. So if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Infant Investors is about helping new and non-investors make sense of the market. I do this in a variety of ways, from my own portfolio update to a fundamentals course on different things you need to look after, or look for rather, but also videos like today where I take a specific piece of news in the market and give my sort of opinion. Just to be clear, this should not constitute as advice. This is all my personal opinion on the different topics that I discuss. So always do your own research when looking to invest in your future, invest in your portfolio. So Facebook Libra. So if you don't know, Facebook has planned to launch their own cryptocurrency called Libra, which will allow you to buy things and send money to people with nearly zero fees. This article is from TechCrunch. As always, I'll leave all of the links in the description. You'll pseudonymously buy or cash out your Libra online or at a local exchange points like grocery stores, and spend it using interoperable third-party wallet apps or Facebook's own Calibra wallet, which will be built into WhatsApp, Messenger, and its own app. There is a whole bunch of information. So in essence, Facebook is launching its own cryptocurrency. It will act as its own wallet in which you can convert your current fiat currency, whether that's dollars, pounds, pesos, rupees, whatever, into Libra. And then obviously you can send money to people instantly with a reduced transaction fee than you would do traditionally with traditional money transfer services. And obviously you can buy goods or services abroad. That's the main premise. Their main focus is what's called the 1.7 million of unbanked people around the world. So what that basically means is that Facebook believe there is a market of 1.7 billion people that don't have bank accounts. Typically, these individuals would be in emerging markets, South America, Africa, Asia, and maybe even some parts of Europe. And so what people often do is that if, for example, I've come from, let's say, India, and I've come to work in the UK, a typical behavior is that I will send some of my salary back home, right? And so what I tend to do is to try and use a Western Union, MoneyGram, or a typical service like that in order to do so. But there's obviously extortionate amount of fees. And the people that I'm sending money to often don't have a bank account. And that's the reason why it will be go to your Western Union to pick up this amount of money that I've kind of sent. And that will be the branch where they can go collect that money. And so what Facebook wants to do is say, look, of those 1.7 billion people, I think they believe that around 1 billion of them have smartphones anyway. So this seems like the next evolution of that traditional way of sending money back home. So that's going to be their first use case of Libra. And they think that that's going to be the sort of the main market. and then it's going to extend into using Libra as a way to buy goods and services online, particularly with Facebook's own application. So as I mentioned, Instagram will have their own e-commerce platform where you can actually see a post, click on it, and actually buy a jumper that you might have seen a shop promote directly within the application. Now, instead of using your credit card and using dollars or using your PayPal account, you'll be able to also use, say, Libra, if you've got that in your Libra wallet, in order to pay for those transactions. So those are some of the product steps that they're looking to take along in the future. They've also mentioned about microtransactions, which would be smaller things that you typically wouldn't be able to do with a credit card just because of the fees. So, transactions under the value of, say, £1 or $1 or a few pound, where because of the actual fees that are associated with credit debit card transactions, often vendors don't even allow you to pay for things. Have you ever gone to a shop and tried to buy, I don't know, a packet of Frutella with a credit card, and they'll say, no, you've got to spend £5? That is that typical restriction that they think that can be broken with the introduction of Libra. So you'll be able to pay for 30p pack of Frutellas or Roundtree's fruit pastels, if you're anything like me, on a simpler basis using Libra. What they've also mentioned is, and I'm probably not in sync with anything on the screen, so I'm just going to move around, but don't worry, I'll leave all of these links in the description, is that what they've also mentioned is that they plan to allow Libra to be available on exchanges. So obviously it can be traded. And by traded, I mean converted. But it's not clear whether you can actually trade Libra such as you would do with Bitcoin. So as you know, you can buy Bitcoin, but you can also trade Bitcoin. And obviously it moves, or it acts like a security, it acts like a commodity on the stock market. It's not clear whether Libra is going to act the same way. The likeliness is, my assumption and my feeling is that it won't. And one of the primary reasons being, the reason why Bitcoin and a lot of other cryptocurrencies haven't been widely adopted in the mainstream is particularly because the volatility is too extreme. So one day I could go buy a t-shirt with, I don't know, half a Bitcoin. I'm just making it up. I know half a Bitcoin now is probably like $5,000. But then tomorrow that Bitcoin is now going to be worth 10 grand. And so how does a company accurately price a t-shirt to effectively manage those swings? Whereas a dollar, although it changes on a daily basis, the changes are sort of infinitesimal compared to that. You might have a pound that moves up by a few pennies in the course of a day or a week, etc. But it won't go from a pound being worth a pound to a pound being worth 17 pounds in the course of 3 hours, which is typically what you find with cryptocurrencies. So it's really hard for cryptocurrencies to be there in the mainstream. So I think Facebook is not going to try and adopt that approach. What they're likely to do, and what they've mentioned, is that they're going to try and have everything backed by physical and tangible assets. What that means in practice, I'll have to do a little bit more research to sort of dig that out. But in effect, having that sort of level of backing means that it can be a bit more of a stable coin, less fluctuations, and actually you can predict the price movements a little bit more accurately. And by being able to do that, it means it can actually have a little bit more of a traditional use, such as you would with, say, a fiat currency. They've also got, and I'm gonna there's a great image here on TechCrunch to show this. They've also got this kind of circle of backers. So the role of all of these backers, every single one of them had to invest $10 million, about £8 million, in order to be one of the backers for the Facebook Libra currency. And also they're all responsible for helping keeping that stability. So you've got the fact that they're set up as a non-for-profit organization. Don't know about that really. If you're a shareholder, there's always going to be a profitable element, but effectively they're responsible for keeping that stable. And so the reason why it won't be zero fee is that there will be some fees for certain transactions, and that's the profit element. And then that's obviously the way that these organizations will get a return on investment. They're kind of like creating a new tech Illuminati or something. I don't know. I don't know if you believe in that. I do. So that's what it kind of feels like. It's this kind of new circle of really high-powered tech companies that, you know, will be controlling the way the world operates over the next, you know, foreseeable future. And so that fundamentally is how Libra is planning to work. I wanted to actually look at why do they call it Libra. So, you know, I actually thought, what does Libra actually mean? I know it's a star sign, but what does it mean? In ancient Rome, a unit of weight equivalent to 12 ounces, 0.34 kilograms, it was the forerunner of the pound. So it's actually got currency connotations, which makes sense. And actually, when you look at what does being a Libra mean, it talks about justice, balance, and harmony. Now, Facebook has not been, I guess, advocates of justice, balance, and harmony in recent times. We all know about the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Facebook has been, you know, renowned at the moment for breaching privacy, and so that's been one of the major constraints around Facebook doing this. And they sort of amassed a team under the hood to start this work, and now they've obviously come out into the forerunner. But you've got a lot of US lawmakers, you've got a lot of senators, a lot of congressmen and women that are really holding for either Facebook to not launch this or to ask them to pause launching this until they can further address the impact to society. And it's going to be really, really difficult. There's some information in the Financial Times that, you know, depending on what route Facebook goes down with this coin, whether you can trade it, whether you can sort of just buy Libra currency, how you transact with it, the level of risk, the backing, how it's managed from assets, financial crime. There are so many unanswered questions that actually mean that the way that this will need to be regulated from a privacy standpoint, from a safety standpoint, from a fraud and anti-money laundering standpoint, there's so many open questions. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this evolves over the next weeks, months, years, and obviously even tens of years, as I think, you know, it'll be something that's going to be around at least for the next sort of 3-4 years while they're sort of working all of these things out. From a personal standpoint and from a sort of a social standpoint and a ethical standpoint, I'm not really sure how I feel about it, if I'm brutally honest. Now, obviously, I've invested in Facebook. You guys know that I have one share in Facebook. So I'm not, you know, the most, I guess, authoritative shareholder in the company. But I do feel that long term, there's a lot of growth opportunity with Facebook. Where I do kind of understand the concerns from a privacy standpoint with their current existing business, I think when you talk about now translating this to a cryptocurrency and to actually money and people's finances, it takes on a whole new level of importance. And so, you know, my real big concern is making sure that Facebook act honorably with this level of information. Obviously, I expect safety to be there. I expect it to not be hacked. I don't want to come in one day and see my Libra wallet's missing all of its money, etc., etc., etc. That's a standard, so I'm not concerned from that standpoint. I expect that to work correctly. But what I also mean is just that element of privacy where, you know, you're making your purchases and they're not privately selling your data. And although they say they won't, you can never truly trust 100% that it's not being passed, even if it is sued anonymously. Just to give you a story, I mentioned something to my friend 2 days ago on WhatsApp. Bear in mind, my WhatsApp mobile number is in no way linked to one of my many email addresses, I must say. And when I went to YouTube, I found an advert for the same thing I mentioned. And that is like, you're not even hiding it anymore. Back in the day, you would at least try to hide the fact that you're listening to my conversations or you're watching things that I say. They're not even hiding it anymore. Like, you've literally taken a word from a WhatsApp message. I've not mentioned that word in probably the last year. And instantly I'm being sent an advert about something that I mentioned. And so for me, and because it's so niche, so it was about landscaping and gardening. Like, obviously it's not the most interesting topic. But then the the advert was about landscaping, effectively. And so it was so niche and it was so clear that you've just literally directly listened to what I message in WhatsApp. So that's just something for you guys to be aware of. Be aware of what you say, what you send. You might not care about that. I kind of do, depending on what, what gets spoken about. From an investor standpoint, if they can go through all of their regulatory constraints and they can appease people, I think there will be in a level of adoption. People will adopt things. There is always that sort of learning curve where people get scared at the beginning and then obviously they acquire it in the future. So I think it can be good from an investor standpoint, which is the reason why I hold Facebook. And I mentioned that I will definitely continue to hold Facebook and continue to buy more in Facebook. But from a social standpoint, it will just be interesting to see how they manage this and keep our information safe, keep our privacy safe. They've mentioned some of the measures that they'll do. Again, I'll leave all of the links in the description. It's too much information just to kind of reel off here. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'll be really, really interested to hear your thoughts on this topic. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The whole concept of cryptocurrency anyway was about decentralizing power from the governments, from central banking authorities. And so that was the premise of why people adopted Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, Binance, etc., etc. Now, you're going to have this new circle of corporations that is kind of creating their own monopoly effect or, oligarchy, if you want, and they're sort of having this cryptocurrency. So the question then becomes, is it really a cryptocurrency? In the traditional sense, yes, it kind of is. It has some of the DNA and the general makings of a cryptocurrency. But I think from an ethical standpoint, if you look at what cryptocurrency was trying to achieve, this doesn't achieve that. So for me, this is kind of a digital currency, but it's not really crypto. That's just my own personal take. Again, this is just my personal opinion on this topic. So it's kind of now a hybrid currency where it's hybrid fiat, dollar, pound, yen, euro, etc., and hybrid crypto in that way. So again, it's just going to be really, really interesting to see how this plays out over the next coming weeks, months. But I do think it does possess a buying opportunity for Facebook, which is the reason why I'll continue to buy more shares in the company. I don't know what share price is going to go to. I tend to, for all of those guys that are new to the channel, I don't really say, I think it's going to 10x, it's going to 20x like Tesla's going to 15x. I'm not one of those channels just because I think nobody can ever, I've been around long enough to know nobody can ever determine a price. So I will give a range maybe just because of what analysts may say, but there's no range I could confidently quote to you guys here. But I do think it will increase at some stage in the future if this takes off. And one of the key selling points is that it's already got an existing huge Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp currency base in order to start and trial this with. It's not a new business that has to kind of grow and market their efforts. They've already got those users, right? And so from that standpoint, it's poised to be somewhat successful. But yeah, get in the comments and let me know your feelings and your thoughts towards Libra, towards Facebook new cryptocurrency. Are you a fan of it? Are you hesitant about it? Are you scared of it? Are you angered about it? If you look at some of the way some of the senators speak, they're actually, very vehemently angry towards this and they want this to be banned. And so with good reason in some retrospect. Like I can't even knock some of their rationale. And then with others, they're really positive about it. So it's just going to be interesting to see what this means. It's also interesting to see what this means for a lot of digital banks that are coming up and emerging into the market. So when you're crowdfunding and when you're looking at new opportunities to invest in, try and use this as one of the lenses to see how this can kind of disrupt or overtake or make some of those businesses a non-starter, which I think is going to have a really, really mixed impact on some of those other fintech startups that are sort of coming into the market. So yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with this. in summary, I do think it's an investable opportunity, but I do have some concerns from a privacy, from a social standpoint, and an ethical standpoint. But we shall see where this goes. Get in the comments, let me know your thoughts and feelings towards Libra, and I'll catch you next time with another investing video. Happy investing.